Hey everybody, welcome to the Lund Loop Daily Update for Tuesday, May 26th, 2026. Hope you had a fantastic Memorial Day weekend. Mine was fair. It was okay. Wasn't anything great. But I hope you had a great one. As we often do when we have a big influx of new subscribers, as we do today, I like to do a kind of a baseline overview daily update. So if you have been a long time subscriber, you can just kind of fast forward to like the 20-minute mark, or you could just hang here and get a review yourself. So pick your poison. One of the great things about the Lund Loop is that whenever I do a sale, we usually get a new influx of subscribers into the community. So what I like to do is in the first daily update after a sale is done, I like to do a little bit of an extended intro to give new subscribers a lay of the land. First of all, let me just say thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I know giving your hard-earned money to someone is a big commitment, and I feel that same commitment to you. But I want to let you know you've joined a great community, and I think you're going to enjoy it. Having said that, it may take you a little while to get up to speed. I try to make things as simple as possible, but it might be a week or two before you kind of get a feel of how things work here. Don't panic. Don't freak out. One of the reasons I don't offer monthly subscriptions is because I really need someone to commit to this community so that I can commit to them, because it takes time, right? So you're going to be here for a year at least. So don't feel like you have to figure everything out right off the bat. All right, the next thing is, and I'm sure you know this if you've watched the daily update previews for any amount of time, the Lund Loop is not a picks service. So what I mean by that is I'm not going to tell you what to buy and when to buy it and when to sell it. And the reason I'm not is because you and I and everybody else in this community have completely different time frames, completely different strategies, completely different goals, and most importantly, completely different risk parameters. In fact, I lied. That's not the most important thing. We all have different trading psychologies. My trading psychology is different than yours. Mine may not be better, but it's just different. So there is no one size fits all, and that's why this is not a pick service. The way I'd like you to think of the Lund Loop is like this. I'm your non-AI curator. Okay, I've been doing this for 40 years. Every week I look at thousands of charts. I know it's ridiculous, right? Thousands of charts. I talk to dozens of the best traders, investors, business people, and then I'm constantly consuming what's going on in the trading room. So I take all that stuff and I filter it down to what I think are the names that are going to give us the best chance to make the most money, either in the next 1 to 3 days in terms of day trades or 1 to 3 weeks if they transition from day trades to swing trades. So that's how you should think of the Lund Loop: idea generation and support. That being said, there will be names that I will put on our watch list that I will never trade myself just because they're not my style. It's not a stock I like, whatever. But that doesn't mean they may not fit someone else in the community. Also, I may trade things that I never put on the watch list just because, again, I think they're not appropriate for the community as a whole. And we're going to talk about those watch lists in just a second. Another thing is, I will oftentimes mention or highlight a name in the daily update or in the trading room that doesn't go on one of the watch lists. And usually that's because it is a speculative name. There are some people in this community that are a little bit more risk, they run towards risk, right? And so they like to have a spotlight on some of the more speculative names, but I don't feel comfortable necessarily putting those on the watch list. So You can get ideas from anywhere in the Lund Loop. You can get them from the watch list, you can get them from the daily updates, or you can get them from the trading room. But in general, you want to focus on the watch list that I highlight in the daily update. And this next part is super important. I will not force names onto the watch list. And what I mean by that is I'm perfectly fine saying there's nothing to go on the watch list today because there's no good risk reward opportunities. Doesn't happen that often. But when you join the Lund Loop, that's very crucial. If you join the Lund Loop in the middle of a bear market, there's probably not going to be a lot of names on the watch list on a regular basis. If you joined the Lund Loop right after a massive rip that just went on forever, you're probably going to see a fallow period when things are correcting and they're not on the watch list. If you join the Lund Loop while the market is in a massive sideways mode, there's probably not going to be a lot of things on the watch list. The watch list generally ebb and flow, and for the past few years, there's always been pretty much something on the watch list at any given time. I ideally like somewhere between 7 to 12 names on the watch list, but the market gives us what the market gives us. So if you go through a period where, hey, there's nothing on the list, what's going on? I just signed up for this service. It's because we're waiting for fatter pitches. I would rather trade less and make more than sit there and fight for every dime. Like if I make my year in 3 trades, that's going to be a lot easier, a lot less stressful than trying to make it in 23 trades. We're going to talk about the trading room in a little bit more depth in a second, but I want to make one point here. You'll occasionally see me post my own personal trades in the trading room. There's 2 types. Generally, there is a position that I am in an active investment mode, which means I'm building a position that I'm going to hold over time, but I'm using short-term trading techniques to get in. In those, I will generally say I'm starting a position, I'm adding a position, etc., etc. You will also from time to time see a trading position that I put in there, and I will generally put in the price that I'm getting in. There's almost no scenario where you see me sell a position that I don't link it to the original entry price. Okay, so you're never going to see me out of nowhere go, oh, I just made $1 gazillion on XYZ stock. Like, that's not how it works here. But here's the most important thing. As a community member, you really shouldn't be worried about what I'm doing. And you really shouldn't be worried about what anyone else is doing in the community or what anyone else on FinTwit or whatever. You should just really be worried about yourself. Are you building a methodology? Do you have a good risk-averse way of managing your positions? Are you in the right names? Are you sizing things? Like, are you building a sustainable trading or investing methodology that fits you? That's the most important thing. When you see me take a trade, you see someone else take a trade, maybe that's a data point. You say, oh, cool, I like that stock too, or I was thinking the same thing. But really, we're all here to get better as individuals. We're helping each other to get better as individuals, but we can't do it for each other, right? We can show the way, we can kind of give some insight, we can share our experiences, but we all have to do our own work on our own methodologies to be profitable. That being said, go for it if you want to post a trade that you're in, but I'm a big fan of if you post a trade that you're in and you post a trade that you're out, you bookend those things, right? We don't get many people that just come out of nowhere and say, hey, I made $1 gazillion on this. But if I see that too much, I get a little bit annoyed. Also, the trading room and trading in general, it's not a self-aggrandizing venture, right? We're not in there to build ourselves up, to puff ourselves up, to say, look how great we are. We are there to share and help. So when you post something in there, think to yourself, is this a value add? Are other people going to get value out of this? Or am I just doing something to shine the light on myself? By the way, whenever I say these things, I'm talking to me, right? Sometimes I do that. I go, oh, look how great I am. I want to post this. I check myself just as well. And the only reason I'm saying all this stuff is because I really want to keep this trading room an environment where everyone feels free to share. Everyone is feels free to ask questions. There's no intimidation. There's no stars. There's no followers. It's just a very egalitarian situation where we're always trying to do our best and help each other. All right, let's take a quick tour through the Lund Loop website as well as the individual daily updates. So this is the Lund Loop website, thelundloop.com. You can always find the latest post here by going to the homepage. Sometimes ISPs will filter out the emails I send. So if for some reason you don't get an email, you can always come here and get the latest post. You can either click here and get the latest daily update post, or you can click the home page and that will give you some of the other posts like this one I put up the other day, or you can get the Saturday cut here, which we'll talk about. Actually, let's talk about right now. The Saturday cut goes out every Saturday morning, right? Saturday morning, Saturday cut. What it is I go back through all 5 of the daily updates from the previous week, and I identify 3 concepts, 3 evergreen concepts, pull them out into a brief little, digestible read, and then these are things that we can put into our process going forward. So you'll get the daily updates Monday through Friday, and you'll get the Saturday cut Saturday morning. By the way, I'm going to put a shameless plug in here for myself because I can. This is my personal Substack called The Anecdote. Has nothing to do with trading. It just kind of chronicles the wackiness that is my life. I send out a new post every Wednesday and Saturday. They're fairly short, usually about 250-ish words. So if you're interested in that, you can find that at theanecdote.substack.com, or you can just go on Substack and search The Anecdote. So anyway, just bookmark this page, thelundloop.com. Here's where you'll find the archive of the Ask Me Anythings that we do. And I'll talk to you how you can get in on that in a second. This is where you will find the Deconstructing a Trade videos. These are for better or worse description video lessons, but they're all around different concepts: risk management, how to get in off of gaps, technical analysis, setups and entries, position sizing and trade management, the trading mindset. You get the concept. This is the most important part here. The core concepts. This kind of gives you a real quick overview of how we do things here. So spend a little time there. If you are new to trading, this is a series I've been writing for Britannica Money for a few years now. So you can go look at some of the trading basic ideas here. All right, so let's go take a look at a daily update, shall we? So this is what a daily update will look like. It will have my ugly mug there talking to you. And then if you scroll down a little bit, you can access the trading room. Right now, before you access the trading room, it's important that you read the rules of conduct and the Lund Loop disclosures. In fact, if you participate in the trading room, I'm going to assume that you've read the rules of conduct. And it's important because I haven't had to kick many people out, but if I have to kick you out, it's because you violated the rules of conduct. So please make sure you're familiar with those right off the jump. Then you can just click this button and you'll be able to get right into the trading room. The trading room is powered by Discord. So if you're not in Discord yet, just sign up. It's free. As you scroll down in the daily update, you will see the Lund Loop watch lists. There are 4 different watch lists. By the way, you can click these and go to TradingView and see all the names in each watch list. You don't have to have a TradingView account to do it. So this is where you can find the individual names by clicking here. These are also the lists I will go over in the daily update video. What are the focus stocks, which we call the red list? These are names that are just on my radar, things I'm considering moving over to the daily setups list because of their price or volume action. So there's nothing necessarily actionable here, but I just make the list available so that you can look at it and see how it trues up with your list or to get ideas there. The daily setups list, these are stocks that I believe from a technical analysis standpoint are ready to trigger on the daily chart, okay? And as you look at the daily updates, you'll figure out what that means. I just added this list. It's called consideration stocks, the purple list. And the reason I added this is because a lot of names, because there's been so much momentum in the market for the last 6, 12 months, some of these names are ready to go, but they won't actually ever get to a setup, a technical setup on the daily. So I want to highlight them. These are names that you would probably have to get involved in intraday in order to define your risk. And then finally, we have the active sequence or the orange stocks. What happens is when stocks are on the daily setups or the considerations list and then they trigger, they move over to the active sequence and we monitor them until they drop off. And the reason we do this is because, first of all, if you missed it the first time, you might find another spot to get in. Secondly, you might want to add to an existing position. Or third, you might want to use that active sequence to manage a position. Finally, there's a little reminder here to check out the core concepts, which are in the Deconstructing the Trade archives. And then I have usually a song at the beginning of each daily update. So I keep a Spotify daily update playlist. It only shows 100 here. It maxes 100 on this widget, but it's like at 120. So you just click this and it will take you to a public list. So if you're ever curious about what the intro song is, you can find it here. And then finally, disclosures, and then click here to read the full disclosures. Speaking of disclosures, you will see these at the beginning of everything I send out. It's super important. There are a lot of people out there on multiple platforms that try to impersonate me and all sorts of other traders and investors. I do not offer anything except the Lund Loop on Substack. I don't manage money. I don't provide mentoring services. I don't have any other VIP products. So if someone approaches you saying that, that's not me. So make sure you read this. Also read the full disclosures here, right? Basically do your own due diligence, et cetera, et cetera. I'll show you the trading room here real quick. Like I said, it's powered by Discord. This is the main channel where most of the conversation goes on, but there are a lot of sub channels. So if you have specific questions or posts that fit these categories, you can post them there. The daily update is also posted here every day where it says daily update right there. And when I say this is a community, that is just not a name. It really is a community. So for example, you can post cool stuff here. You can post off-topic stuff here. I love this one, Where You At? This is where Lund Loop subscribers will post where they're traveling, what they're doing. We've got Lund Loop subscribers all across the world. What's also cool is that Lund Loop subscribers will spontaneously just meet up across the world and then send a picture and go, hey, look, we're meeting up here. And then there's the Friday playlist where if you have some songs or a playlist you think is really cool, you can throw it in here on Fridays. The Lund Loop is really lightweight, so you probably won't need a lot of service options. But if you have a technical question, you can do a ticket here. If you got a question just in general, like, hey, where do I find this or what's that? You can ask it in the main channel. One of the places to avoid reaching out is on chat in Substack, because I very rarely, if ever, check that out. All right, last thing is, if you're watching this, you are now a paid subscriber, which means you can ask me anything, and I put them in a occasional Ask Me Anything post, maybe every couple weeks or so. So here's the format that you want to send the question. You want to send it with an email subject line of AMA question. That's it. I have a filter set up that will find those subject lines. So if you title it anything else, there's a good chance I will miss it. Send it to brian@thelundloop.com. Keep the question brief and specific. 2 to 4 sentences is the best. The more specific the question, the better the value of the answer. Don't send me a question that says, what do you think about XYZ stock? Like, I don't know. Is that a trade? Is it a long-term investment? What does that mean? Ask me a very specific question and I can give you a better answer. Please avoid time-specific questions. This is because we do the AMAs every 2-3 weeks or so. And if it's specific to a certain time, it might be out of date by the time I get to the AMA. If I don't reply in 1 week, please resend it. That rarely happens, but if I don't at least send something back saying got it, resend me the question. And then finally, tell me if you want to be fully anonymous. I'll usually use someone's first name, Neil A, Jim X, whatever. But if you don't even want that, just tell me you want to be fully anonymous. I'm sure I'm forgetting a ton of stuff, but like I said, there's no rush to get up to speed. You're going to be here for quite some time. Just be patient and watch the daily updates on a regular basis, ask some questions, get involved in the trading room, and before you know it, you will be fully up to speed. Once again, super glad to have you here. If you know someone you think would be of value to this community or this community would be of value to them, feel free to forward the information from the Lund Loop. If you got a buddy or someone that wants to sign up, hit me up and I'll I'll figure out some sort of deal for them. All right, let's get to today's daily update. So I'm going to kind of talk my way through the daily update today, just again for new subscribers. What we usually do Monday through Thursday is we'll look at the intraday action on the 5-minute chart on the SPX just to point out if there was anything of significance there. Fridays, we just go right to the weekly. So if we look at the SPX today, we had obviously the news built up all weekend. Is Iran going to come to the table or not? They're not going to come to the table. The market felt comfortable enough thinking we're pretty close to the deal. Futures ramped all Monday. So we had that gap, big gap open. And you can see that we gapped above the high on Friday. And on all of my charts, you'll see there's a red line, a green line, and a dotted blue line. The red is the low of the previous day. The blue dotted is the close of the previous day, and the green is the high of the previous day. Those are key levels because that's where buyers and sellers are in a battle. And the way that battle ends is important because those are potentially support resistance or rejection levels or pivot points. And you can see today on the SPX, we get that gap. And we see this massive spread between the intraday moving averages. I use the 5 EMA, the 9, and the 20. And when you get a spread this aggressive like that, that means there's a lot of buying. So we come up here, we're just riding the 5, the shortest EMA. So a lot of buying. And then we start to sell off. And what's important is where we hold. We hold right at Friday's high. We can't get below it. We're just riding on that level. That's saying that buyers are willing to step in at this level. Again, tested here and then started to go up towards the end of the day. So, if you look across the indexes today, SPX was up about 0.5%. IWM was up big, almost 2%. Q's almost 2%. Dow down. Okay, so a little difference in relative strength there, but all in all, pretty good. Now what we do is we go look at the 4 main indexes or ETFs. So here's the SPX, which as you can see has been in a massive run since that low we put in March. We've got to reset the VWAP. So here's the volume weighted average price. And now it's got to be reset over here to the new high. And I'm going to keep pushing this Fibonacci retracement higher. This is anchored at the low. And it keeps going higher because we've yet to get a pullback to the minimum 23.6 level. Now, I'm not a big fib fan, but this is a really good way to easily gauge the strength of a move and a trend. And we have not even been able to get back to the least pullback. So we got to reset it. Now, having said that, we are looking at some bars here that do look a little toppy. We're getting some wicks up here. Got a wick up here. A few names started to sell off. So I'd really like us to base here for a day or two on top of this level, that close right there. If we come back hard under here tomorrow, that's going to tell me that we're probably getting ready to go risk off short term. Right now, nothing really technically wrong with the market. We had higher volume today, but again, I'd like a day or two sideways here, or at least a very strong green bar here. These bars are looking a little weak to me. We go to the Qs. See, that's more the bar you want to see, right? A bar that fully gaps out of the range, big, strong body. That is a better looking bar. Again, we don't want it to break back below here, but we're just going to have to reset the VWAP again, and we're going to have to extend. Where's that V? There it is. And we're going to have to extend the fib retracement because we've yet to get any significant pullback in this trend. What else do we have here? Great action here. Remember last week we saw the IWM put this hammer right off the 50, right off an old support level. Great fall through day on Wednesday and has just gone rocket to the moon. And here we are at new all-time highs. So we've got 3 out of the 4 indexes at new all-time highs, resetting VWAPs above the 8 EMA, and we saw the Dow hit all-time highs on Friday. So again, nothing I can find technically wrong with this market other than the fact that it is the rally is long in the tooth, but that is not a technical issue. It's just not. It's just something you got to be aware of. So at this point, what we normally do is we go over to what I call the indicators, right? The indexes and the ETFs that are going to give us a little bit of a clue. Like if the trend was ambiguous, it's not. It's aggressively up. But if it was ambiguous, we'd want to see what these sector ETFs are showing us. Are they giving us clues as to which way the trend might go? Now, in this case, we want to say, is the trend weakening, right? This big, long, extended trend, is it weakening? So we're going to look over here at some of these indicators to see if we can get a clue. Now, you would have thought that the VIX would have followed through on a day like today. And so when something doesn't happen that you think should happen, that's signal. So we've got two scenarios here. One is we had that breakdown of this rising trend line on Thursday. A little bit of a pause here, a little bit of a pause here. Now, is this the pause before we just roll over and get the next leg down? Right? Start breaking down into this area? Or is this as much momentum as the downside bears have and we're going to start going like this? Hard to say. But the way that this breaks will be interesting, because if we see the market start to sell off tomorrow and we see this start to break hard, that might be an early clue as to what's happening. So we're going to keep a real close eye on the VIX. Look at TLT. While TLT was doing this, it was putting pressure on the market. We got some relief last week by this big bounce off a level that we had not gotten to since, wait for it, since October of 2023. Massive bounce that broke through and filled this gap, got back above the 21 EMA, right? And is back above the support resistance level. So this is taking some pressure off the market. The question is, will we base here for a day or two and then continue higher? That would be good for the market. But if we start to reverse, that could put some short-term pressure on the market. How about Dixie, the dollar? Okay, so again, when Dixie was going down this direction, it was good for the market. When it was going like this, it was putting pressure on the market. These correlations will break, they'll ebb and flow. Right now, I'm just describing how they're working. They don't always work this way. So with Dixie going this way, it's been a little bit of pressure on the market. We've been going sideways. It's kind of neutral right now. Again, I think this will be pretty key. Do we break back out of this range like this, or do we roll over? If we break back out, I think that puts some pressure on the market. So we've got some key indicators that are inflection points. We need to watch that. And MAGS, however, looks rock solid. That trues up with the relative strength that we saw with the Qs today. DRAM, new highs. Now this looks bullish, but it also has a little bit of a, are we getting close to a blow off? This is incredible, this run, but so far the move's still higher. SMH, it's another one that you worry, like, is this a blow off? But until you see some sort of reversal candle and some confirmation, it's just a massive uptrend. So this is where things get interesting. The space names, the AI names, the quantum computing names, they're going to have to cool off at some point. And the question is, will that cause the market to crack short term, or will we get some rotation in some different names? I would hope that we would get some rotation. This is one of the places I'd be looking for. IGV, the software names. IGV itself looks fantastic here. It's just basing right here along the 200-day moving average. It just needs some catalyst to get going. I know we've got a lot of software names reporting this week. So we could see one of them just knock it out of the park and this thing could break out. And again, we might see money move there, and we'd have somewhat of a mini rotation. Another place are financials. Financials have kind of lagged for the past few months. So it would be great if we could see some of these names get involved and move up out of this channel more definitively. KRE did this fantastic turnaround. It looked like it was breaking out of this range and it went right back up, and now it's at the top of it. So it would be great to see banks and financials pick up some of the slack. Look at housing. which looked horrible during this period. It's held this level 1, 2, 3 times, now breaking a short-term downtrend. Maybe we get some money going to housing. We saw a lot of oil names sell off on the news that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be opening back up. Would love to see some follow through here to confirm this. Same thing with USO. Would like to see it get down to the 50 for sure. XLE, false breakout here, so that's good. That should take some of the pressure off the market. OIH, though, not doing much. What else do we have here? Gold miners and silver really not doing anything of significance today. XLV. All right, so again, we saw XLV 1, 2, 3 times hit this support level, break up here, blow through this intermediate term downtrend, ran into some resistance on Friday, which makes sense. So the question is, we're about ready to fill this gap now. Can we just fill in this area here and put a base in that we can then break higher from? But this is better action, certainly, than we saw here. XBI, just running in this channel here on top of an old support level. Solar keeps going higher. This is obviously turning into and has been an energy proxy. Crypto looks horrible. Not just Bitcoin, but Ethereum looks terrible. Solana looks terrible. And POT is starting to perk up, which is usually a bad sign for the overall market. And if you've been here any amount of time, you know that I'm kind of tongue-in-cheek on that, but also kind of serious. Want to quickly highlight a couple of big winners today. One was Momentous, MNTS. This is something that InfoHound, one of the Lund Loop subscribers, pointed out in the trading room at some point back in here. I'd been buying it up in the 5s, and today it was up 101%, 109%. So I sold a chunk of it pre-market here, a little bit more here, a little bit more here, and I'm out. But that's been a fantastic move. Also, another one I've been talking about for quite some time in the trading room around this area here, OUST. Beautiful move. It's gone basically from 25 to as high as 45 today. So some really nice winners lately. All right, so now what we do is I take a look at the names that are on my focus list. These are the names that either through price or volume action have got my attention. Today's list is not that great. There's a couple things on here that look okay, like Google, for example. This nice orderly pullback here, right off the 21. We're always looking for a spot that makes sense to enter where we can manage our risk. And so you've got this very tight channel. And if you buy it here or on a breakout above there, it's very easy to put a stop in below here, depending on your risk tolerance. So this looks like a really good consolidation and a good chance that we might break higher. So I'm going to put this over onto our daily setups list, the green list right there. Spotify. So Spotify had been in a big downtrend. It's held this level a couple times, and it's had a big rip going from 424 up to 531. Now that's too far too fast, but we're going to be watching this thing to see if it can base a little bit under these pivots and give us a level from which we could trade against. So we got to keep our eyes on that. Oscar's another one. And we've been in this from here to here, 76% run. Short-term traders got out here. Long-term traders are still in, or investors. This is another one we want to see if this can firm up and start to U-turn and get back into gear, but it's not ready yet. So now the big question is this. All these space names, all these AI names, all these quantum computing names, they've all gone so far so fast, it's very hard to get in any of these at this point. In fact, what I said in the trading room today is those are like trail and trim names. So we start looking at things that haven't broken out yet, things that are still in bases. And that's problematic because if something has yet to break out in this market, does that mean it's just waiting to catch up and waiting for some of that rotation possibly to come into it that we talked about earlier? Or is it just a bad stock and broken? Path has earnings on Thursday after hours. This does look like 1, 2, 3 times it's hit the low here. It's back above the 50. It's a very narrow bar here that you could manage your risk. The question is, would it move between now and earnings? Probably not. I just want to highlight it here, but I'm usually loath to put anything on the list that close to earnings. What about AI? This has been one of the worst performing stocks forever, but it looks like it's firming up a bit. Is this the kind of stock you want on your list? Do you want junky stocks like this? Probably not, right? Oklo was once much beloved. We traded it in this area a number of times for some money, sold off big, but starting to wake up a little bit. Is it there yet? No. But I just want to put that on your radar. Kava was in this amazing uptrend until I bought it. And then it tanked. Post earnings, it's firming up a little bit. I think if we can get, it's pretty tight here. If we can get a green bar here or an inside bar here, it might go on the list. Bros is another one that is in this massive pattern that if it ever breaks out of could run for months. I'm thinking of getting back in this one, but it's not there yet. And then we've got consumer staples, which somebody in the, let's see, who I want to give credit. Who did that? Who pointed it out? Streamer mode is on, so I can't tell who it is. Someone that starts with a K. Sorry. Anyway, do we want to be in, consumer discretionary names? That's usually, those are usually safety names. So the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of names that haven't moved yet. I'm not sure we want to be in them. We'll have to see, right? But everything else is really extended. So we only have one name on the daily setups list. We had one that was on the considerations list, ONDS, which did trigger, sold off a little bit, but it's now in inactive mode. So I'm going to move it over to the active list. And then everything that we had on the green and the purple list transitioned to the active list at some point last week and has just stayed on there. Look at ASTS. Look at this move. This is where we first had ASTS. It's going rocket to the moon. It's still active. What determines if something is still an active stock? Usually it means it's above the 8 EMA. So this thing is definitely still active. SATL, which I think we added here. It's riding up the 8. It's definitely active, although this bar looks like there might be a little reversal in play. You'd have to get a close below here to confirm it. Iron, which we played off of the reversal off the 50. It's definitely still active. Joby, which we put on the daily setups here, triggered the next day. It's definitely active, breaking back above the 200, back above this support resistance level. Probably needs a little rest before it goes through this gap, but definitely active. QS, still active, breaking above the 200. BlackBerry, which we put on here. What a ripper this has been. Definitely still active. Tesla, which we had from here to here, and then put back on the list here. Still active. Oracle. All right, so this is an example of something that's been on the active list, and now it's going to transition back onto the green list because it's consolidating here. It's got a spot here that's very easy to define your risk. So we're going to put this back over onto the green list, the daily setups. And in a good market environment, what you'll see is this ping-ponging back and forth between the green list and the orange list. So something's on the green list, it triggers, maybe it stays on the orange list for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, then it firms up, gives us another base, goes back onto the daily setups. It's there for a day or two, then it triggers and goes in the next stage of the uptrend. We want those things to just keep going back and forth over time. Those are good swing candidates. What else do we have here? CrowdStrike, which has just been amazing. We had CrowdStrike here at 445. It's now at 675. What a run that's been. You think this is still active? Someday it won't be, but it is right now. Amazon broke out from here when it was on the green list, went to the active list, basing a little bit. Looks kind of weak to me, barely below the 8. If we could get one green day here, that would give us a nice base, and I'd put it back on the green list. But the way it looks right now, not ready to put it there. And then IonQ, which we had from here, broke out, definitely active. Maybe a day or two of sideways action here. Wait for the 8 to catch up. That would give us another base to put it back onto the green list. All right, let's see. I think that is it. That's it. Excuse me for chewing gum today. I'm dealing with a sore throat. But if you are a new subscriber, thanks so much for being here. Don't get overwhelmed. Hang tight. You got lots of time to get up to speed, but we're glad you're here. And if you're not in the trading room yet, you should be. But if you're not, get in there. And if you get in there, I'll see you there tonight. Bye.